Hello, John Bloodworth, Gentleman Crafter, back with more adventures in machine embroidery. This time around I wanted to spend a little time designing something, but I didn't want to spend too long doing it. So what I thought was, if I put my attentions in the focal point of the design and then use a little cheat for the border, that'll be absolutely fine. So this design started out with a simple line sketch that I created of a bee. I imported that using the artwork import options and then locked it in place. Next up, I started by digitizing things that would be furthest away from me. So for example, it would be the legs in this case. I decided to use the Digitized Blocks tool for this one, so that I could get some variation in the angle of the stitching. I've already set the stitch type to tatami, although a satin stitch would work just as well. And I've set a basic colour. I can always change this later using the threads toolbox or threads docker later. So basically I'm clicking out a series of points to set a group of blocks in place, and the angles that are the joining lines between the blocks will be the angles that the stitches work through, as you can see there. Now, rather than digitize all 6 legs, what I thought would be a fantastic cheat would be to just copy and paste them. So I did. Control D is the shortcut for duplicating something. And then I use the rotate tools to just rotate. I'm not looking for a lifelike bee, I'm basically looking for a representation. So the idea here is to have 6 legs. Doesn't matter if it follows my original sketch, it's just the fact that they are there that's the important thing. And obviously duplicating isn't the only way of replicating sections. We can always use the mirror tools from the layouts toolbox. And then for a bit of variety, so it looks like I might have digitized all of them, I just resized that third one. And I'm just going through a series of fiddlings to rotate and maneuver that leg so it kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. I mean, it is, but hopefully you know what I mean. I'm not too worried about them overlapping the body because I'll be using the Remove Overlaps tool later on. So once I've got those 3 created on one side, rather than duplicate or copy and paste, I will use the Mirror Copy tool. I just need to make sure that I've got all 3 legs selected and that I've chosen the horizontal, not vertical. Otherwise his legs will be a little skew-iff. So with a single click I've basically duplicated the legs. So now all of the legs are in place. I'm going to lock those there so that they don't move. And then I think I will have a go at the body, starting with the bee butt. So I'm using this circle tool here just for a quick shape, rather than trace the outline that's there, and then just manually fiddling with it until it looks about right. And then I'm going to change the pattern to a basket weave and apply the Florentine effect so that I've got some kind of interesting pattern going on in that bum area. Next up, the circle tool again for the thorax. I think it's called a thorax. The main body bit. That's what I'll call it. Now there's going to be a lot of stitch density in the center of this piece. So what I'm actually going to do is apply a radial fill and create a hole into which other stitches can go. So there's my radial fill. Because I'm not good at judging small distances in imperial measurements, I switched to millimeters. And I'm changing the width to be about 4 millimeters and the height 7.5. You'll see what I mean later on. So we've got the bum, the body. I think probably next up we have a look at the head. Just changing the spacing there a little bit to reduce the density. I'm already up to 6,000 stitches and I haven't got... Am I more than halfway there? I think I'm about halfway there. So for the head, again I'm using the circle tool, but instead of just pressing enter twice when I've dragged out the first line, I'm also using the option to create the oval. And then again the same tool for the eyes. This time though I will choose a satin stitch. Having a variety of different stitches going on really does add interest to the pieces, in my personal opinion. And it really sort of gives it, what's that phrase? Makes your eye taste buds water. I'm not even sure what eye taste buds are, but you know what? They like it. Just locking everything in place now, as I'm going to have a go at digitizing the wings. So I'm using the Digitize Closed Shape tool for this, changing the stitch colour, and in actual fact I am going to hide everything rather than lock it. That way it's not in the way and I can see the design as I'm tracing it out. Just a few clicks when it comes to ovals. A straight stitch, a straight corner or straight point at the start, so that's a left click. A few right clicks around to basically create a curve. And don't forget the software actually calculates these curves over the last few points. So even if one sort of jumps out like you saw, if you carry on working around, it will sort of settle itself. Once it's in place, I'm going to change the angle. Just again for whatever pleases those eye taste buds. For the second set of wings, I'm basically going to duplicate and then resize and rotate. I use the sequence tab to send it behind the main upper wing. And then, with the upper wing selected, I clicked on Remove Overlaps. Now basically this punches that upper wing through everything that's below it, so that includes the thorax and the leg, which is why I said don't worry about, overlapping different areas, because we can always punch through them and sort that out later. Again, using the mirror tool to create the other side. So that's very quick and easy. And then I was going to duplicate that central thorax, but actually what I wanted to do instead was create a brand new circle. Definitely need to change the colour because this is supposed to mirror the body. I am applying a radial fill, so you can see now why I wanted to remove space earlier on for those to fit in. I'm using the feather edge on side 2 so that it feathers the outside edge. and then just reducing the hole width and height so that it fills in the hole but without being a closed hole. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes I talk and it doesn't make any sense to me. So let's show everything that we've got so far and see how we're getting on. Looks okay to me. For the antennae, I'm digitizing an open shape, so that's just 3 clicks and then pressing the enter, and I've got my antennae. And then change the colour to match the body, and then of course a couple more clicks we can mirror that. Now I'm done with the main image, so I can get rid of that now. And I'm just going to make sure everything has been sorted in terms of overlaps and stuff like that, as I don't want too much density. Little bit of fiddling with the sequencing. And basically with the sequencing, I would aim for the legs first, the bum and the head, then the thorax, then the wings, and then that fuzzy bit on top. Now for the border, I did a bit of a cheat. I went into the monogramming section of the software, chose something that was appropriate, resized it, and then I can actually get rid of the text by breaking the design apart, selecting the text and deleting it. Ta-da! Easy ready-made border for a queen bee. Now I did want to change the colour on this and also send it to the top of the stack so that it would stitch first. For me, adding the stitching around the outside first, I felt helped avoid perhaps some pull that the bee body would create. In the final design that you'll see, I also spent time creating outlines, breaking things apart and seeing about stitching orders for the border and things like that to minimize jumps. But I didn't want to take too long in this video, and you know how I can be a fiddler when it comes to this. I also applied a couple of extra bits on top of the wings to add some shading, so you'll see that as well in the finished piece. I'm now showing you that finished one, running through the stitch player just again to check the sequence, make sure everything's in order in terms of how I want it to stitch out before I send it off to the embroidery machine. And although I've used a very small palette of colours, just 4, there are a number of colour changes because I wanted things to stitch out in a particular sequence. So you can see how I was saying, start with the things that are furthest away from you, so the legs, then the head and the bum, then the body, then the wings, and then that fuzzy cap thing on top to make it look like the wings are going into the fuzzy body hair of the bee. One thing I do enjoy about that mirror tool, by the way, is the fact that it mirrors that angle of that stitching. So you can see how it's mirrored on the wings. Okay, that looked good to me, so I packed it up and sent it off to the embroidery machine, and this is the result. I am very, very happy with this. I love the way the light catches the different stitching at different angles, and that basket weave bum is a bonus. Okay, that's it for this one. Please do remember to like and subscribe. It really does help me as a creator. In the meantime, thanks for watching.